Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I don't know who's going to be on this call, but I really don't care. It's good to see all of you back in 2026, and I know there's a lot of things that are moving on. I know that AI has taken over social media for sure, and Chris and I are going to be working on some things. And so it's going to be very, very interesting. I had about an hour long talk with Brent Gove yesterday, right in the middle of the football game. And he shared with me some things that might be coming down the hallway, and I'll share them if they come true. I don't want to put stuff out that if it doesn't happen. So, Brian, what's new in your life?
Talking about social media, it's interesting. After Friday, I'm in a lot of realtor groups on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many posts I saw. Oh, my mortgage broker says rates are going to 3% again. Rates are dropping. Rates are going to go through the floor. Trump's taking care of it. And it's interesting. The biggest headline, I guess, is last Thursday afternoon, evening, Trump announcing $200 billion that Fannie and Freddie are going to spend on buying
Yeah.
mortgage-backed securities.
Right.
And when you look at the grand scheme of things, that will have some impact on the mortgage market if it comes to fruition, but it's certainly not going to drive rates down to 3-4% as a lot of people on Facebook, whether they're bots or whether they're real, who knows. But we saw a knee-jerk reaction early Friday morning to that announcement. Mortgage rates dropped fairly significantly on Friday morning. And then we got the release of the jobs report, which tempered that and brought things back to reality. So yes, it will have an impact. Mortgage rates hovering right around 6 right now. But don't expect, and certainly working with your buyers, don't let them read those types of headlines and things on social media, because rates definitely are not going to be pressured down into those ranges anytime soon. Keep an eye on the jobs report and the inflation reports, because really the fundamentals are what are going to drive us from here on out.
Yeah. All I saw last week was 5.99. That's what
Yeah,
I saw,
yeah,
which is more of a truer statement, correct?
Right.
correct. Yeah, and we're
Yeah.
seeing pressure, a little bit of pressure again this morning. So I expect we're going to hover between 5 3/4 and 6 1/4, probably for the remainder of this year.
I'll take Vegas odds on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. Of course, I always pay attention to the financials, but this 10% cap on these credit cards, Wall Street is not liking this very much at all.
No, I honestly don't think that's going to happen. I
Yeah.
don't think the government has the power to do that to a private company. But there's they call the law of unintended consequences, right? So what happens when you start capping at 10%? The banks are going to start cutting back on issuing credit.
That's right.
And what happens when you have, the certain households that live check to check, they float some money on a credit card through the month, pay it off with their paycheck, a couple
Yep.
times a month. Those people could, severely be impacted, and it could cause more problems in the market than we currently see. So we'll see how that plays out.
I was told that there's 4,000 card services, but only the big four are the big ones. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Joe, what do you got to say?
I don't see any way that any of that. It's all just noise right now. Everybody's just trying to address things that people are complaining about in public. But there's no basis for lowering interest rates on mortgages or car loans or anything else down into that range again. You have to remember, and I keep saying it's a broken record, but the government subsidized that market. They were the only buyers of bonds during that reduced rate marketplace. No investors wanted to put their money in 3% money. So that's not a reality. The average interest rate of the mortgage business in its entire history has been 6.5%. So we're in the normal range. If we get into the fives, I think that's pretty much what you're going to see as far as any real benefit of all this stuff. I do not as far as the credit card thing goes, I don't see how the government can go in and tell a private company anything as to what they're able to charge or not able to charge. You see what happens. The perfect example of what will happen is what's happening in California with gasoline. You went in, you put these restrictions on these people, tell them they're going to cap their profits and all these other things. They said, fine, we'll see you later. And they pull out. And the ripple effect of that is, just like Brian said, people are going to have less access to credit, less ability to use it. And that's going to cause distress, just as you're seeing in the gasoline market going forward. Now, that gasoline thing is going to be interesting to see how it affects us out here too, because commuting for people is going to become very difficult with some of the projected changes that they've got coming in here. And there's no way that the prices can't go up, because the gasoline deficit now has to be imported from other countries because we make special gas that isn't manufactured anywhere else in the United States. So you're going to see a financial impact to people there. And if they were to limit credit card interest, and there's going to be less credit available because of that, that could severely impact people in our market going forward. Those are the peripheral things we're going to have to keep an eye on to stay on top of, to learn how to address this with people. Because if they're coming in saying, "Oh, I'm waiting for 3% interest rate," so well, then you're never going to buy a house. That's it. It's got to be real. It's got to be numbers. It's got to be cash flow. You're going to have to use all your sales skills to get around that stuff and educate yourself so that you can counteract these comments and stay up with what's going on around us, because it is going to have an impact.
Yeah, I agree. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just think with what the public's hearing and what's going on, you have to, take a break and really just wait and see what some of this stuff is going to be happening, because like you said, AI is getting in there. There's all these bots and there's so much noise coming around that you have to, something sounds good, hey, we're going down to 3%. Let's just wait and see, and then really think about, like what everybody said, is what is the true effect of everything that's going to happen? Because everything sounds good, hey, let's do minimum wage to $50, well, what's that going to do to all the places? So,
Right.
all these things have to be stopped and thought about and processed and really see the effect and then what happens. So in the housing and everything, it makes it more difficult at first for agents until you become skilled and are able to talk to somebody and tell them up front, this is reality. You can want this, but like Joe said, then you can choose to live where you're living and not buy a house. Or you can understand the reality and get the best possible chance and get the best situation for you at this moment to get into a property or to sell your property.
Now, real quick to interject here, one thing. What's starting to become more and more a part of the conversation on our side is the reemergence of adjustable rate mortgages. Now, if you think back, that was always when interest rates or things got unaffordable, the default was to go to an adjustable rate mortgage. Adjustable rate mortgages got a bad name because of neg am arms, but the adjustable rate mortgage itself is not a bad deal or a variation of that. And you can't have neg am anymore, so you're not going to have the problem where it eats you out of the house. But if those things come back into play, depending on what form they take, and I don't think there's been any major changes on qualification on those, has there, Brian? It's all pretty much the same thing. But if we're going to get debt relief or rate relief that way, now all of a sudden, that's how someone's going to be able to say, well, yeah, you do have 3% rates because here's an adjustable and no neg adjustable. And now everyone's going to have to, it's going to take a paradigm shift to make that move. If you want the house, you got to sell cash flow, and you got to understand how these work so that you can give people a comfort level on these. Because in the past, I got to tell you, up until the reduction, the real drop in interest rates, I never owned a home with a fixed rate loan. And I never paid fixed rate rates. I always paid below market rates because I utilized adjustable rate mortgages. No neg adjustable rate mortgages. 11th district cost of funds we could use then, and it got real flat for a long time. And man, I'm telling you, I didn't get any movement on the rates at all. Everybody else was paying 6%. I was paying 3% then, 3.5% on an arm, and it never really moved. I mean, Brian, what'd you see on those back then?
Yeah, they were down there.
Yeah. So I mean, that as you hear more noise coming about this, it's not a bad thing, but it may be a way to keep sales going. And you know, you got to start saying things to people like, hey, you marry the property, you date the rate. A refi's in your future. Just take it, get in, get established. You're going to get equity through appreciation on the property. That'll still happen. Maybe not as big as it was, but it's still going to happen because we have one thing going for us in this area that's very important to remember. There's no more dirt. And especially if gas prices go up and I can't afford to drive from, you know, Timbuktu to get to my job, I got to be closer. What's that going to do to the prices of houses? Supply and demand. Something to think about.
You mean there'll be less traffic on the 405?
You know, if gas is $7 a gallon, you'll see a lot more car commuting or carpooling or something.
Yeah. Candace, good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Good to see you guys.
You too. Thank you for joining us this morning. That's why I'm buying silver. Man,
84, $85.
84. Dang. I think I was buying it when it was 30 and bought a boatload. And I can't afford gold, but we don't have Joe Subert's money, so we have to do what we can.
If I had your money, Frank, I'd burn mine. I don't drive a Mercedes. And a new one every time I turn around. It's like, well, I get the new S Wazoo Hyper whatever Benz. Yeah, nice try.
Funny story, and I'm sorry to divert. I have a 2015, and I hit a big rock on the road, and my tire just shredded.
A rock or a pothole?
A rock.
Nice.
I towed the car to Mercedes-Benz Eldorado Hills. They called me back and go, okay, Mr. Crandall, we got a new tire for you, but the bad news is you cracked your wheel.
Nice.
I said, okay, give me a price on a wheel. They called me back a couple hours later. $1,400 for a wheel.
That's not bad for one of those.
I don't have your money, Joe. I called the place where I bought my car. He says, Frank, I can get 4 new wheels for $1,400 for your car. So I called Mercedes and I had it towed for Mercedes down to this other shop. I just did not feel like highway robbery. Jeez Louise.
You never go to the dealer for that stuff, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. But anyway.
So when's your new Benz show up, Frank? That one's getting a little long in the tooth. You're getting a new one. When is that? You keep talking about it.
No, I'm paying this car off. I got one more payment. It's done.
Oh.
Then I'm going to look at that 2009 Maserati. So
you better have a lot of money to keep that thing going.
Joe, this is my dream. Don't steal my dream.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it'll be pretty to look at in the garage. Just put papers down.
Yeah. Actually the dealer, or not the dealer, but the guy told me buy 2 of them, one for the garage because the other one will be in the shop all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the emails coming from EXP or anything like that, but this luxury division, this fast track, this fast attract. I know, Michael, you're really on top of all these programs coming out. What's your, have you been to any of these classes?
Have not been to the fast track. I know that Candace has been to the fast track, and the fast attract I have not been to yet. I've just been busy running around. It comes at the same time as my son's practices, but I know it's there, and from the people that have done it, and it seems to be like you said, it seems to be really lining some things up to get going. And the luxury division, I just see every day I look in, it's like something new's happening, and they're just going to the next level.
Yeah, especially with the AI stuff. Candace, can you comment a little bit on the fast track, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I think it's a really great program. I was telling people it like helped me market and figure out how to market and be more of a salesperson.
Yeah.
Stay on track, set goals, meet goals. Yeah, it was, and really well laid out.
Yeah.
It's helped me. I'm a slow starter, so I'm also a slow goer, but I made some steps forward as a result, and I'm going to continue to keep going. So it's definitely a really, I would recommend it for anybody, and I'm going to probably do it again at some point when I have a little more time.
Good. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, Michael, I'm hearing a lot of good things about it. So yeah, those are programs. And now I've been getting involved with this Myra,
Yeah.
this AI thing, and really easy to use, very user friendly for me. I mean, I'm a dummy, but I was very impressed with some of the stuff that they're doing. So I don't know if you guys know this, but EXP used to have a thriving workforce. They have all farmed out to AI. I mean, I hope this does not come as a shock to you, but a lot of the transaction department has farmed out to AI, which sometimes I question, but as long as I get my paycheck, that's all I care about. So it's different the way the structure is. And truth be told, it's not just DXP. It's every company that I talk to with agents that are at either Remax or Compass. They're all doing the same thing. They're all doing it because they need to cut costs, especially Compass. They need to really cut costs.
Mhm.
So anyway, Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing that I noticed, I showed this a little bit, talked about the hub that was coming out, and I don't know
Yes.
if it's eventually going to take over Slack or whatever, but little by little I see more people migrating over. I see some groups starting to form. It's not fully flushed out like Slack is yet, but I would expect that this year, as we keep going, if you guys get the opportunity, jump in there and start seeing, and you can do groups, you can do everything you can do on Slack, you can do everything on Workplace, but it's much more like much better interface. I find, and more things that you can do on it. So just kind of watch it if you're here, to go into it and start doing. I would say Frank and Chris, maybe Chris, get in there and get a winner circle group started to get going on that as
Oh,
well.
interesting.
Yeah.
What would be the benefit of that, Michael?
Well, like I said, if we end up migrating someday from Slack, because Slack's a cost, but this is something that was built up from EXP. So I don't know how much it costs or whatever it would be. I think they built this internally. So it's something that if we have to migrate over there or anything, you do it, and it'd just be another place where you can share the data and get information. Like I said, it may end up eventually replacing Workplace or replacing Slack, or it may just be another place that we can actually go to and use. It's just a little bit smoother and easier, not so confusing as Slack. I mean, I like Slack, but a lot of people tell me that there's too much stuff going on. So with this, it's more streamlined. So
Okay. Chris, are you hearing this?
I would love that, Michael.
I think I sent Candace, I sent you something on how to get there. Chris, I'll send you a little video on maybe how to get there, and you can walk through and maybe set something up.
Okay, copy that.
Yeah,
Thank
Chris would love it. Anything new, Chris just eats that stuff up because that's what I pay him for.
Speaking of new, this is a little sidetrack. My son, for Christmas, he knows I like pens, and he bought me my very first fountain pen. And I thought the fountain pen, I'm never going to be able to write with on it. It's amazing. I like these things. They're really great. So, but I was so happy that my son got me one for Christmas. He just went out with his own money. So it was very nice too. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's very thoughtful.
Yes.
Where is he at in football?
He is a freshman at Oaks Christian School in Santa Clarita. So, I mean, in Thousand Oaks, Woodland Hill, and Westlake Village. Sorry.
That's where
There's a lot of guys.
that's where Joe Montana went to school.
Joe Montana's kids. Yeah. It was
no. His kid went there. Yeah.
Joe Montana's kid.
Yeah.
Wayne, for one time there was a time, it was, way back 2006 or something like that. But Joe Montana, Wayne Gretzky, and Will Smith all had their kid there on the football team. So it's
Gretzky, he just lives right there in where Rod Gordy lives. What's that place, Brian? Sherwood.
Yep.
Sherwood.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Christian is a powerhouse in sports.
Yeah, they're okay.
Big money.
Okay. All right, you guys. Well, listen, being that we don't have too many people on, I'm going to let you go early, give you a break, and we can get on with our day. But I just love you guys being here. I love seeing your faces. I've missed you, except Mr. Subert. I've missed you guys. And
Brian, and the two opinions here are hilariously linked.
Somebody talking?
No.
Okay. Okay, you guys have a good week, and we'll see you here next Monday.
All right.
See you, Frank.
Take care.